Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching Storm 750 playing in his Tier 10 Japanese medium tank, the STB-1. This vehicle is a bit of an all-rounder really in World of Tanks, although for being an all-rounder it does have some very best-in-class statistics. Now, what's so good about the STB-1? Well, it has the highest rate of fire of any 105mm that's on a medium tank. It fires 7.5 rounds a minute. That even surpasses the recently buffed Centurion Action 10 and also the buffed M48A1, which has, I think, about a 7.1 something rate of fire. So having that extra bit of DPM on the STB-1 can be very, very useful indeed. The tank also gets best-in-class gun depression of 10 degrees. It's only the Centurion Action 10 that has 10 degrees of gun depression, I believe, with the M48A1 getting 9 degrees, and the Leopard 1 also getting 9 degrees, I believe, with the 50M getting 8, and it goes down from there. Now, you'd be thinking, well, surely there's got to be some really bad things about the STB-1, right? Well, it's got very good mobility, as we can see here, 53 kilometers an hour. It's got some great horsepower to ton ratio as well that allows it to breeze even over medium terrain resistances, such as this hill. It is a highly mobile tank, very, very flexible indeed. So what about the armor? Well, frontally, its armor's pretty well angled, and it's also got some areas of the front which are over 100mm thick. Very, very nice. The turret also, apart from having this horrible cupola on top, is quite well slanted. The mantlet will do you proud, but outside the cheeks, it's not the most reliable turret armor, but it's not like the Leopard or some kind of a paper tank where I really feel like every shot that's going to hit you is going to go in. Now, I do realize that the Leopard does have some nice angling off the upper plate, and also the mantlet, which can absorb some shells. But I feel like, for me at least personally, the STB-1 armor is just a step above, at least frontally, compared to the Leopard 1. So, good news, good news, good news. Also 410 meters view range as well, which allows you to get up to that 445 spotting cap, if that's your goal. Of course, there's no cap on view range. You can go very much beyond that and counter the enemy's camera rating. Now, if this tank also had good gun handling and good aim time, it would be completely overpowered. But the problem with the STB-1 is it has pretty much worst-in-class gun handling. It has what I would say Tier 9 medium tank gun handling, with 2.3 seconds aim time, and also some rather horrible dispersion values when you turn the turret. And so this means that the STB-1, unlike many 105mm wielding and even 100mm wielding medium tanks, actually has to aim at its opponents for at least a couple of seconds before it fires. God forbid, right? So what I find with the STB-1 is that even though it has this whopping great rate of fire of 7.5 rounds a minute, it's actually very tricky to use that rate of fire, and you'll be spending the extra half a second or so benefit that you have over other Tier 10 medium tanks aiming rather than shooting. And if you do rush the shot because you feel pressured to do so, and you're exposing your tank while you're aiming at your opponents, then you might miss altogether. So that's one of the most frustrating things about the STB-1, but if I can tell you kind of 3 or 4 things that the STB-1 is very, 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 very good at, and then just having one thing that it's rather mediocre at, you know you've got a very good tank on your hands. Just to talk more about the dispersion, the dispersion value when turning the turret, I believe, is 0.14, which is very, very, very bad. I think some tanks, such as the Leopard, get 0.08, which is massively better. So that means whenever the STB-1 turns the turret, you're going to see this big bloom for the aiming reticle. And so look how long it takes to get accurate. Not fully accurate there, aiming at the T-34, before Storm felt like he had to pull back, and rightly so, because the enemy tanks fire some rounds at him. So he's getting out of here. This position is a little too hot. He is being very effective at engaging opponents towards his southwest, but now that the east has been completely lost, you can't stay there. The pressure just gets too much. And pulling back is a very good move, something that I have made a couple of mistakes on recently, staying in that position past your welcome. And then as soon as the whole of this eastern area opens up, that location on the other side of the ditch is very, very, very vulnerable. So this game isn't going too well, even though this was a 53%er. And Storm has, well, he hasn't really done too much in the first 5 minutes of this game. Until now, when he's going to go and kick this WZ-132's butt. You'd think that maybe the team on the other flank would hold better. Unfortunately, it looks like a T-30 on the other flank has had a whale of a game. And so his team has lost the eastern flank completely. So Storm shuts down that Tier 8 light tank, and the STB-1 does do very well against light tanks. You don't really need to be super accurate when you're aiming at them, and you have the mobility to keep up and the rate of fire to shut them down quickly. He takes a hit from an M12, well, just a very, very small amount of splash damage, and puts a good shot there into the T-54 Mod 1 through the gap. Between the mounds, putting a shot, I believe, through the wall into the side, that Tier 8 Soviet medium tank. So the Su-122-54 and his team has had enough of his shenanigans, races down the slope, shoots him once, and then finishes him off by ramming him. And that allows Storm a little bit of a respite from the action. Now he can hopefully go over here towards the other side of the ridgeline and engage the Waffenträger Panzerwehr and the T-30. But he has no time to do that right now, as a WTRV-100 is in fact behind him. Luckily, a good shot there. The shell flies true. He takes that tank out. When the STB-1 does get set up like that, and it doesn't have to move its turret very much to aim at its opponents, you don't notice the bad gun handling on this tank. And then it just becomes a rather nice amount of penetration with this 105mm combined with 0.36 accuracy and 7.5 seconds aim time in this tank. It's basically in its environment. When it's on a ridgeline, stationary, taking chunks out of opponents, or alternatively, if it's in close quarters combat. So the enemies still have 8 vehicles left in this game, including 6 tanks, and Storm's team is melting. There you go, now he is 1 versus 8. He puts a shot into the Waffenträger Panzerwehr, and this Leopard prototype looks like he underestimates the reload on the STB-1, and Storm punishes him, securing his first kill. Now he's going to run away from that Waffenträger Panzerwehr that's using that 150mm, and he's going to pressure this Tier 8 American tank destroyer, the T-28 prototype. Now he knows that this turret is not fully traversable. If he gets behind the tank, the T-28 prototype can do nothing. Finishes him off, but now he's got to deal with this Tier 9 German tank destroyer. With that 150mm gun, he puts one into him. Please don't hit, please don't hit. Oh, he whiffs right over the top of the tank, and that allows Storm to finish him off. Already taken out 3 tanks. Now he's going to be moving after this Tier 8 American heavy tank that's plowing into him, this T-32. Using the great mobility of the T-32 and a shot into the tracks, he doesn't take more than 1 hit from that 105mm gun, securing his 7th kill of the game, 6,096 damage, and the artillery narrowly avoiding him. Luckily, that T-34, a lumbering beast, and the T-30 on the enemy team, both tanks with very poor mobility, couldn't join that fight. I'm sure the enemies don't feel quite so confident now. Now, the amount of vehicles on the enemy team have been cut in half, and the amount of tanks on the enemy team have been reduced by 2/3. So Storm is on a lookout now. He wants to try and find vision on the T-30. Great stuff, puts a hit in, pulls back, good reactions there. At these kind of ranges, STB-1 aim time, it's not particularly what you would want against the T-30, but some good reactions there by Storm. Takes him down, and also now he knows where the FV-207 is. If you get splashed by an artillery, even if it only lightly damages your tracks, he now knows where he is. He now knows that the artillery is towards the southwest. But irrelevant of that, he also manages to find the M12, auto-aim on him, and shut him down with a single shot. That's where having this 105mm is a lot better than having those 100mm Soviet guns. Your rate of fire might be great, but if you can kill a self-propelled gun in a single shot, well, that's just the dream, right? So, we now know that there's 1 tank capping. Make that 2 as another vehicle just enters the cap circle. It's incredibly unlikely that the artillery is capping. That mostly, well, it's obvious that the T-30 is capping. So you've got to be thinking about what other vehicle is it likely that's in the cap right now. And in this case, it's probably this T-34 who was last spotted up in the north of the map, who's lumbering his way in. Now, why is this important? Well, he's playing an encounter, so that's good, because that gives Storm a lot of time to work with. When you're playing on an encounter, the amount of time that it takes to cap is double, but let's not worry about that now, because he gets spotted. Oh, that is disastrous. How did he get spotted but not spot anything? Looks like the T-34 must have caught a glimpse on him, and he gets behind this house to hopefully avoid the artillery shell. Oh, that could have ended the game. Hitting that out, well, I guess the side house on that, the extension on this building, smashing it apart completely. Now Storm is in a very tricky situation. The T-30's there. The T-30 whizzes over the top of Storm. I think he tried to fire a blind shot into the bush. And so that means now that he can progress. Remember, the T-30 has got one of the most god-awful rate of fires in the game. And the T-34 isn't so much better either. Storm can almost fire 3 times at that T-34 for every time he returns fire. So that means he should be able to finish off the T-30 before he reloads. Great result, Storm. Putting 1 into the T-30. That must have been quite a clutch shot. Glad that one didn't miss. Some precision work there. He shuts down the Tier 9 American tank destroyer. And this is not the kind of position you want to be fighting tanks with 10 degrees of gun depression. Gosh. If that T-34 gets the back of Storm's tank though now, he's within a 1 shot for the T-34. And if the artillery splashes anywhere near his tank, he is not going to be too happy. So I like what Storm is doing here. He's figured out, alright, interrupt the cap circle. Cap circle's fine. Let's go focus on taking the RNG out of this game, the FV207. By leaving that FV207, he could be dying anywhere to that self-propelled gun. Now he knows when he took the shot earlier where the artillery was. And that's great, so he's going to be able to figure out where he is. He should be just over this ridgeline. But the FV207 has had more than enough time to position himself anywhere. But luckily, that's not the case. Puts 1 shot into the side. Oh gosh, a low roll. Don't hit, don't hit, don't hit. Luckily, 10 degrees of gun depression should be able to work over this ridgeline. And the enemy FV207 looked like he was panicked there. His gun pointing very much up just as Storm fired his last shot. Probably a slip of the mouse there. Great result for Storm as he picks up his 10th kill. 7,585 damage done that we have seen this game, and only 1 tank standing between him and winning a 1 versus 8 situation. Winning 1 versus 8 in a tier 10 game it's an achievement that I would like. Can I have a 1 versus 8 in a tier 10 game? So I'm really when I was first watching this replay, I was really rooting for Storm to get through this one. But it is going to be a heartbreak. He's got to deal with this T-34. The T-34 has got 1,084 hit points left, so that means that unless he rolls very low, he is going to have to shoot that T-34 3 times to be able to finish him off, whereas the T-34 could probably kill him with even a high explosive shell. So I like what Storm's doing here. He realizes, as this is an encounter caps take twice as long, so that means that the T-30 is going to take, gosh, 200 seconds rather than 100 seconds to be able to cap, right? So that's 3 minutes and 20 seconds right there. So considering that there's 37 tick points left on the cap circle, that means that he's still got a minute, nearly a minute and 15 seconds left. So he's got to try and ambush the T-34 right now. He wants to try and come from an awkward angle. It looks like you've got to put yourself in the enemy's thought processes here. If you were a T-34, you'd probably have your gun facing down towards this way, where he thinks that maybe the STB-1 will try and sneak around the ridgeline and come from the other side. And so, Storm is going to hopefully ambush the T-34 here, and it's kind of important that he does so. He avoids knocking down the trees. Good work there. Knocking down the trees can give the enemies the tell on what you're doing. Now there's only 40 seconds left for the T-34 to cap, and only 50 seconds left on the game for Storm to do over 1,000 damage. There's the T-34, 1 into the back of the tank, right into the turret ring there. And so that means now that the game is either going to be a draw. Well, he no longer has to interrupt the T-34 to win the game, but he's got 35 seconds left, and I know that Storm doesn't want to draw. Storm wants to win. He wants that Kolobanov's medal. Looks like the T-34 turned around, and Storm is going to try and bluff him. He goes up on the ridgeline, and then he goes back to his original position. The T-34 is looking up on the ridgeline, and Storm goes all in. The slow turret traverse on the T-34, unable to get round the back, and Storm finishes him off. What a fantastic play at the end of the game there. Completely outthought, outshot, and outplayed that T-34, taking down a huge game, 11 kills, 8,669 damage and winning the 1 versus 8. Storm 750 completely carried his socks off this game. I can't believe he got through a 1 versus 8, especially at tier 10. Even more so considering that many of the tanks on the enemy team still had to be shot multiple times. Many Kolobanov's medals that you see are kind of 3 tanks on the enemy team and then 2 self-propelled guns, and those 3 tanks are lower tier than them and they just waltz in one by one and they get one shot. That could have very easily happened to Storm when he was killing the Waffenträger auf Panzervier, the T28 prototype, that Leopard, and then the T32 just over this ridgeline. But it was his aggressive plays, the way that he focused down the relevant targets one by one, that allowed him to come through this game with a victory. Absolutely fantastic performance, Storm. Thank you so much for sending me this replay. Let's just take a quick look at the post-game stats. Talk about a plethora of hero medals. Storm picked up the Pools medal for destroying 11 vehicles on the enemy team, a steel wall in an STB-1, a high caliber, unsurprisingly considering he did 9,506 damage this game, a defender for defending the cap circle, a tank sniper for dealing damage at long range, and the one that everyone wants, the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5 opponents, in Storm's case 8. Storm fired 36 rounds this game, 34 of those hit and 28 of them penetrated, 11 rounds hit his tank, a damage blocked by armor of 1,760, showing you that when you use that 10 degrees of gun depression of the STB-1, its well-angled armor can pull off some quite nice bounces. Even though Storm was not running a premium account this game, he still made 11,500 credits profit, which is unusual when you take so much of a beating and have to fire so many shots to carry your socks off. Storm nailed himself 1,605 base experience points. That's great for a tier 10 tank. Thank you so much for uploading this replay on the replays.QuickyBaby.com website. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys did as well. If you did, please consider giving this video a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if this video has sparked your interest in the tier 10 Japanese medium tank, then simply click through up here and you can go through to another scorcher of a round by SKE, gaining over 11,000 damage in the STB-1. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the tier 10 Japanese medium tank. How does it stack up to the other tier 10 medium tanks in the game? And what do you feel about the gun handling on this tank? Do you feel like it kind of balances out all of the other good aspects of this vehicle? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.